Hello! For those of you who have been following my channel, you'll know that I spent the past 15 weeks training for my first half marathon, and I was posting short videos of what I ate and how I trained. So in today's video, we are going to go over how the race went, what I ate before and after the race, and how effective I thought my training program was, which I put together myself. For dinner the night before, I made spaghetti with meatballs and sauce made from scratch. For the sauce, I used some fresh tomatoes courtesy of my neighbor and a canned variety as well. And then I just followed a basic recipe for the meatballs, although I would probably use a different one next time since these didn't have much flavor and was only saved because I used plenty of salt to season them. I ate about 2 servings of this size with a side of broccoli. My run club also gave me this temporary tattoo that was very fitting for what I was about to do. On race day, I woke up before 5:30 and had breakfast of oatmeal with raspberries and fresh honey, but since it was so early, I wasn't really in the mood for eating, so I did my best. Good morning. I'm currently chilling at a public transit spot since that's what I'll be taking over to the race. It is 6:30, so still 1.5 hours until we start. I am nervous, but excited to get this over with. I got to the starting line without issue and first met with my run club for a group photo. Some folks were running the 10K, some were doing the half, and some were just spectating, but it was nice to see them there and get a photo. And then I found my coworkers who talked me into doing this whole thing in the first place, and shortly after, we lined up in our corrals at the starting line. Since this was my first race, I had no idea what the corral concept was, which is basically when they separate runners into groups based on their estimated finish times that you give when you first sign up, so that the slower runners do not get run over by the faster runners, and also to prevent congestion at the front. When I signed up about 5 months ago, I gave a very generous finish time, and then as I started training, I realized I wanted to finish faster than what I gave, so I was basically at the back of the pack to start with, which isn't the end of the world because your time only starts once you cross that starting point. But it did cause 2 issues for me. The first one being that I didn't realize I would be waiting for nearly half an hour after the initial start time, so I'd already stretched, I had warmed up, and then 8 o'clock came around and I ended up standing in the corrals for 30 minutes, basically wasted my warm-up, and it was completely cold by the time I actually did start. And 2, I was unable to use the pacers because the time I gave initially was a 2:40 finish, which is not what I ended up going for, but by the time I started the race, the real pacing group that I wanted to follow was like 20 minutes ahead of me, so it was impossible to catch up. But around 8:30, I finally took off, and I tried to be conservative with my pace just to make sure I had enough energy to finish, and the first 3 miles absolutely flew by, and by the 4th mile, I took my first gel, which for the first time in my life did not taste terrible. Now you're probably wondering what my estimated goal time was for this race, and it was actually 2 hours and 10 minutes, which is about a 10-minute per mile pace, but this also does not include the time taken to slow down and eat my gels, get water at the stations. So in order to meet this pace, I was going to have to run a little faster than the 10-minute pace in order to meet that goal. I took my second and final gel at the 8th mile mark, and this is where things started to get a little ugly. Around mile 9, I started to get very overwhelmed to the point where I almost had a breakdown because I was just so exhausted at that point. The longest run I had ever done in training was 11 miles, so getting up to 9 miles, that's kind of like the final stretch of the run, but now I was at mile 9 and I still had 4 miles left to go, and it felt impossible to continue the pace that I was running at. But then I remembered all the people that were cheering for me, all the runners that were there alongside me, and then my family and friends that were actually tracking my progress live on the running app, supporting me, so that helped me get over that wall and continue running on. Mile 12 also felt like an absolute eternity, and that mile 13 would never come, but it was such a feeling of relief to see that 13th mile marker and to see the final people cheering at the finish line. And finally, in 2 hours and 13 minutes, I crossed the finish line and successfully completed my first half marathon. According to my Garmin, I did not optimize corner cutting on this course, so as a result, I actually ran 13.29 miles, whereas a half marathon is 13.1. So if we take that into account, along with all the breaks I took, I did basically achieve my goal of a 2:10 half marathon. And after the race, I actually was not that hungry and was mostly thirsty, so I ended up just getting like a ham sandwich and an Arnold Palmer. So it's been almost a week since my half marathon, and my body has pretty much mostly recovered from it, and I just still, even in this moment, cannot express how proud I I am of myself for this achievement. I know that 2:10 is not a world record time, but considering that that's what the goal I set, I made my own training plan and I achieved it. It's a really great feeling, and I'm very happy that I took on this challenge and was able to crush it as well as I did. As far as my training plan, I tried to incorporate a long run, an interval run, and a tempo run every week, and I pretty much managed to do that. I do wish I had done a few more sprints, just because I think that would have helped me maintain that faster pace, like at mile 9 when I was completely crashing out. Like I mentioned earlier, the longest run I ended up getting up to was 11 miles, so I never actually hit 13 miles at any point in this training process, but I didn't need to because those last 2 miles, once I got to 11, I knew I could do it, so I was able to just cruise through those last few miles. It was definitely a lot of hard work and dedication to training, but I'm glad I stuck it out, and I will probably not be doing this again for a while.